Our world is full of natural beauty and wonders that are beyond our comprehension. We're truly blessed to live on a planet as majestic as this one. But have you ever seen something in your everyday life and just thought that makes absolutely no sense? Well, in today's video, we're going to be counting down and exposing things in our everyday life that simply do not make sense. So stick around, because this is going to be a very entertaining video. First up, there are only two guarantees in this life. We all know the classic saying, there are only two guarantees in life, death and taxes. While that statement in itself makes perfect sense, and death even makes sense, it is a scary but understandable reality that guarantees that eventually we will cease to exist. It is sobering and at times incredibly frightening, but it is an easy concept to comprehend. But I cannot say the same thing for taxes. While some countries do things differently from other countries when it comes to taxation, the majority of the systems are just flat out corrupt and incredibly stupid, especially in the United States. For clarification, the tax system in the US is technically pretty clear-cut. You make this much money, therefore the government is going to take a predetermined portion of your income to use federally, and the state in which you reside in is going to take a separate predetermined sum of your income in order to fund public works such as road building, social programs, and general improvements to public places in order for all to be able to enjoy them more without having to pay an absurd amount. Makes perfect sense, right? But yet, everyone always has a problem with their taxes because they're forced to sit down and make sure they do proper maths to ensure that they correctly file their taxes. But if both federal and state taxes are predetermined, and the government of both your country and your state knows exactly how much you owe, then why are we still doing the math to figure out how much we owe? Why don't we just get a bill that says exactly how much you owe so there's no confusion? Especially when you consider the fact that the government doesn't actually care about the amount of tax you pay unless you don't pay or pay too little. Then all of a sudden it's a huge deal. So much so that you could go to prison for paying the incorrect amount even though the government has the exact number at their disposal. But it's for some reason unwilling to disclose it to you. I mean, whose idea was it to keep our tax info behind a wall until we do the exact math to make sure we get the right answer? Is this just a big test? Is this a plot from Big Math to ensure that we continue to keep up with our arithmetic? Seems a little messed up and backwards, don't you think? In a day and age in which pretty much everything is taken out of our accounts automatically thanks to consented subscription services, you would think that it would just be easier for everyone if the government just sent an email saying that they're going to take this much from you in taxes each year and just call it a day, right? But until that day comes, you better keep your calculators ready. Next, stupidity thrives in the smartest of places. Colleges and universities are obviously associated with the smartest among us. People go there to receive higher education from some of the brightest and most forward-thinking minds in the education system in order to further advance society. Sounds like a really great thing, right? Well, what if I told you that universities and colleges blatantly do not give a single crap about any of their students, and they're just one big money grab hiding under the guise of higher education focused on driving the future? If you don't believe me, let me enlighten you. During the COVID-19 global pandemic, universities all over the world were forced to hold their classes online so that students could safely continue their studies. So because the courses were all online, the actual facilities were closed and lay dormant. The power was seldom used. The staff did not have to come in and clean or upkeep the facilities. The building was no longer needed to house students. So I think that any logical thinker would be able to deduce that since the university are spending less money, they should be charging students less to continue their education, right? I mean, after all, students are now missing out on the state-of-the-art facilities and experiences that they were promised when they committed to that school. So if they're not getting them, they should pay less, right? Well, in the eyes of universities, wrong. During the pandemic, many students were actually forced to pay more for classes than before, and the universities chalked it up as online fees. If that makes sense to anybody, please come and explain it to me. Furthermore, many students who were forced to pay for a student pass or student card in order to be granted access to the bookstore or be able to use public transit still had to pay for that charge, even though they lawfully could not use any of the facilities that are granted to the people who pay for this pass or card. Universities and colleges colleges everywhere took students for every penny they had, like a bunch of bloodthirsty animals, rather than trying to do what they could to help students who were trying to better themselves through higher education during a very difficult time in human history. But yeah, universities really care for their students. This one might offend some of you, but let's dive in. As I mentioned at the top of this video, our planet is a truly beautiful place, full of wonder and possibility and natural wonders that we could never dream of in our wildest dreams. But yet, there is seemingly a large amount of people who hate the fact that some people are trying to save the planet. This is a real issue amongst humans, and it genuinely makes no sense. I understand people being against electric cars in their current state. I understand people hating paper straws, and plastic straws are such an unfathomably small proportion of the world's climate and environmental crisis. I totally get that people hate when celebrities preach about regular people being the reason the climate is changing, and yet they jet around in fuel-guzzling private jets. However, what I don't understand is people going out of their way in order to be against people who are just trying to save the planet that we all live on. There are garbage cans literally everywhere these days, and yet people are almost keen in throwing garbage out their window when they're driving down the road. People are seemingly excited to litter when they literally could wait like 5 more minutes to find a garbage can. Some people seem eager to deliberately throw their recyclable products in trash just to prove a point or get back at people who are just trying to be green. Being green should not be looked at like it's a crime or an alternative lifestyle. It just isn't. It is literally doing almost no extra effort to keep our planet healthy for a longer amount of time. Is this some incomprehensible concept that blows the minds of people? Is doing the bare minimum to not kill the planet such an extreme idea that people are shunned from doing it? I've never understood why it's such a difficult thing to conceptualize. We only have one planet. It's as simple as that. Regardless of race, gender, sexual orientation, ideals, morals, anything, this is the planet that we have, and we are not getting another one. So for people to be so deliberately against doing what they can in order to save the planet is just so weird to me. It makes no sense. This is not the same as being somebody who goes out of their way to avoid purchasing an item from a store or brand they don't like. This is not the same as somebody going out of their way to avoid a person they don't like. This is people going out of their way to purposefully harm the planet they inhabit. People who litter or do things that carelessly harm the environment just because they're too lazy for the alternative blows my mind. The equivalent would be like if you needed to clean your house because it was dirty, but instead of vacuuming and scrubbing, you just burn the house down. Yeah, the house is no longer dirty because it literally doesn't exist anymore. One day, if people keep this mentality up, the house is going to stop being a metaphor and is going to literally refer to this planet. And when that day inevitably comes, people are going to wish they walked 14 more steps to recycle their item instead of throwing it on the ground or in the ocean. That's all we have for you guys today on the channel. Thank you all so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video, and we will see you all in the next one.